The film unfolds as Johnny, a successful and incredibly charming businessman, begins his day with a morning run, presenting an image of sophistication. Despite his outward demeanor, Johnny conceals a womanizing nature, assuming various identities to woo women, often younger than himself. At the country club, his friend Fabio exposes Johnny's use of 3 fake personas in a single week to court women, prompting Johnny's playful retort about his wife possibly wanting to date him too. Later, during lunch with his friend and doctor, Dario, Johnny faces questions about the exhausting pursuit of women through deceit. Dario advises him to consider settling down with a mature woman, highlighting his approaching 50th birthday. Their conversation is interrupted by a call from Gianni about Johnny's mom. Expecting a reconciliation, Dario is shocked when Johnny reveals that his mother has passed away. In the aftermath of lunch, Johnny rushes to the graveyard but mistakenly joins a Filipino procession, apologizing hastily before locating the correct funeral spot. During the ceremony, Johnny's twin brother delivers a heartfelt farewell, but Johnny skips his speech, revealing subtle racism as he makes sweeping gestures referencing Filipino individuals, often employed as maids. As the funeral concludes, Johnny's brother hands him the keys to their late mother's house, marking the beginning of an unexpected and complex journey for Johnny. Surrounded by family photos that evoke emotions, Johnny sits in his late mother's wheelchair, immersing himself in nostalgic memories. Engaging with the past, he switches on her old radio and grooves to a familiar song. Unexpectedly, Alessia, a young beauty and the new neighbor sneaks in, startling him. Alessia, who used to assist handicapped individuals at a nursing home, offers to volunteer and help Johnny with anything he may need. Seizing an opportunity, Johnny, a cunning player, immediately pretends to be disabled. The next day at work, his ruthless businessman persona surfaces during a meeting where he admonishes his team, emphasizing that his sneaker company, High Speed, sells a lifestyle, not just shoes. When the new intern, Giulia, suggests diversifying marketing by featuring Paralympic athletes to connect with disabled customers, Johnny scoffs, asserting that his clients are Instagram influencers, not those who barely use one pair of shoes throughout their lives. Setting an example, he fires Giulia on the spot. After the meeting, Johnny, using his fake handicap, obtains a bag of old clothes from his assistant, Luciana, and hurries back to his late mother's home. Capitalizing on his fabricated disability, he guilt-trips Alessia into accepting an offer for coffee in his kitchen. Over coffee, Johnny discovers Alessia's preference for a carefree single life over serious relationships. Slowly realizing that Alessia is drawn to outgoing, healthy, and wealthy individuals, Johnny's middle-class handicapped act begins to backfire. As Alessia leaves after coffee, Johnny senses his chance slipping away, prompting a re-evaluation of his deceptive tactics. In a surprising turn of events, Johnny boldly reveals himself as the owner of High Speed, boasting 148 stores across Europe and a grand villa. Alessia, slightly taken aback, quickly adjusts her demeanor and extends an invitation for lunch at her country house on Sunday. Eagerly, Johnny accepts the invitation, envisioning a pleasant encounter. On the designated Sunday, Johnny arrives at the address but chooses to park far away. Anticipating rain, he dons a raincoat and wheels himself to the house with considerable difficulty. Inside, he meets Alessia's family, including her grandmother on oxygen support, her brother, and her parents. The plot thickens when Alessia's sister, Chiara, arrives in a car. Initially captivated by her beauty, Johnny's excitement wanes as he realizes that Chiara also uses a wheelchair. The truth dawns on him: Alessia invited him not for herself but to set him up with her disabled sister. After lunch, Johnny and Chiara engage in conversation outside. Chiara reveals her love for sports and her profession as a violin player. Uninterested but attempting to be polite, Johnny nods without contributing much. Back in Rome, when Johnny shares his encounter with Chiara with his friends, his doctor friend Dario inquires about Chiara's personality, while others inquire about her attractiveness. Johnny, admitting to her beauty, dismisses any interest in disabled girls. Meanwhile, Alessia visits Johnny's late mother's home to return his raincoat. Instead, she encounters his brother, unaware of Johnny's deceit. Alessia shares details about Johnny's supposed charity work in Botswana and expresses sympathy for his apparent disability. In the aftermath of Johnny's intricate web of lies, his brother is taken aback but plays along, choosing not to expose the deception immediately. However, he eventually confronts Johnny about the lie, urging him not to stoop so low. Unfazed, Johnny deflects the conversation, mocking his brother's baldness. Undeterred by the encounter, Gianni decides to extend an invitation to Chiara, leaving a voicemail asking her out for Saturday. To his surprise, Chiara pays him an unexpected visit to his office the next morning. Caught off guard without a wheelchair in his office, Gianni awkwardly positions himself on his desk. Chiara, unable to make it on Saturday, invites him to watch her tennis tournament for disabled individuals later that day. Eager to impress Chiara, Gianni fabricates a story about his company's support for disabled athletes. In his wheelchair, he witnesses Chiara's commendable tennis skills, genuinely impressed by her performance. Post-match, she invites him to lunch with her disabled friends. However, the lunch takes an unexpected turn, with Gianni feeling overwhelmed by constant questions about his supposed disability. That night, he experiences a nightmare. In the next scene, Gianni flies to Turin, where Chiara is performing with her orchestra. Determined to maintain his charade, he purchases an electric wheelchair locally and secures a balcony seat in the theater. For the first time, Gianni is genuinely moved by classical music. After the concert, he surprises Chiara, who questions the reason for his presence in Turin. In an attempt to maintain his facade, Gianni lies about being nearby for work, claiming his visit was accidental. In a lavish upscale restaurant, Gianni attempts to confess his deception to Chiara, but at the last moment, he deviates by admitting to lying about being nearby. Clumsy with the electric wheelchair, Gianni's awkwardness is evident as he continuously bumps into tables throughout the dinner conversation. After dinner, Chiara takes him to her hotel, where they share a kiss, though she halts further intimacy, leaving Gianni disappointed. Upon returning from Turin, Gianni seeks advice from his friend Dario, inquiring about the intimate aspects of paraplegia. Anticipating the direction of the conversation, Dario explains the physical aspects, suggesting Gianni forgets about certain expectations due to his age. Unfazed, Gianni playfully brushes off the advice. In the next scene, Gianni invites Chiara to dinner the following day and concurrently plans to pick up another girl he met during his morning run. Meanwhile, Chiara shares a heart-to-heart conversation with her sister, expressing gratitude that Gianni sees her as a whole woman rather than a pity case. During Chiara's visit to Gianni's expansive house, Gianni's clumsiness in the wheelchair is evident. At dinner, Gianni fabricates a story about a Christopher Reeves-like accident, only to be corrected by Chiara about Reeves' paralysis from the neck down. Gianni awkwardly claims to have fallen off a pony, and in an attempt to uplift the mood, he surprises Chiara with a rubber noodle and a flooded dining room. Floating weightless in the water, passion ignites, leading to an intimate moment. After the water dries out, Chiara reveals that she has no sensation below her legs. Visibly emotional and perplexed, Gianni shares that he, too, only felt it on his forehead. When Chiara falls asleep, Gianni seizes the opportunity to take a selfie of the two, driven by a desire to boast about their connection to his friends. Excited about winning a bet with Fabio over a photo of Chiara, Gianni hides the fact that Chiara can't feel anything below her legs. The atmosphere shifts when Fabio's wife, in a nightdress, unintentionally breaks a wine glass and makes a joking reference to being clumsy like a handicapped person. Offended but unwilling to reveal the truth, Gianni asks her to leave. Days pass without communication between Gianni and Chiara, but a transformation begins to unfold in Gianni's outlook on life. Gianni asks Luciana to recall the intern who suggested expanding the marketing to paraplegic athletes. During his morning run, he calls Chiara, asking for a meeting to make an important confession. At Chiara's house, burdened by the lie, Gianni stands to confess but sits down before she turns around. Noticing Gianni's increased composure, Chiara mentions his improvement in using the wheelchair, and they share a kiss. Attempting to confess, Gianni loses courage and shifts the topic. Chiara, reflecting on her past relationship and the pain of lies and deception, confesses to Gianni that deceit hurts her more than her injuries. Fearful of losing Chiara, Gianni decides to keep his secret for the time being. Chiara requests to meet Gianni's friends, prompting him to invite Dario and Luciana to dinner. On the way, Dario senses Gianni might be in love and urges him to confess, threatening to reveal the truth himself if Gianni doesn't. During dinner, as Dario prepares to confess, Gianni spills soup on his suit, diverting attention. In the bathroom, Dario insists Gianni must confess, but their conversation is interrupted. Gianni's brother visits Alessia, exposes Gianni's lies, and, angered by the deception, Alessia slaps Gianni. She gives him a 2-day ultimatum to tell Chiara the complete truth. Later, Gianni visits his womanizing estranged father, who, in a heartfelt conversation, expresses regrets about being a bad husband and urges Gianni not to make the same mistakes. As Gianni's feelings for Chiara deepen, he fears losing her if the truth about his deception is exposed. Interrupted during a heartfelt conversation with his estranged father, an announcement about a trip to Lourdes, a famous Catholic site in France with rumored healing powers, sparks a wild idea for both father and son. They decide that Gianni will take Chiara to Lourdes, pretend the holy water healed his fake disability, and win her back. On the other hand, Alessia gently suggests to Chiara that Gianni might not be the best fit for her. Their conversation is interrupted by a surprising phone call from Gianni, inviting Alessia to join him on the trip to Lourdes. Confused, Alessia questions the purpose of their visit, and Chiara speculates that maybe Gianni is hoping for a miracle. Fed up with hiding the truth, Chiara reveals that she knows Gianni can walk. As someone who uses a wheelchair herself, she recognized his awkwardness immediately. Chiara confesses that she allowed the lie to persist because it felt good to be loved, even if it was built on deception. The group reaches the sanctuary of Notre Dame of Lourdes, where they are greeted by Father Walter, who happens to be Italian. Father Walter asks Gianni to meet him inside the cathedral alone. In their private conversation, Father Walter bluntly tells Gianni that he knows he's not handicapped. Without waiting for an explanation, he warns Gianni not to stand up in front of everyone, emphasizing the potential harm it could cause by giving people false hope and making them believe in miracles. Undeterred, Gianni continues his fake act, coming out of the cathedral to maintain the charade. As Chiara wanders into the middle of the road, oblivious to an approaching truck, Gianni, driven by instinct, gets up on his feet and pulls her back from danger. Shaken but playing along, Chiara pretends that Gianni's ability to walk is a miracle. Boarding the bus, she leaves the place in tears, while Gianni's world in Rome starts to crumble. At the club, Fabio confronts Gianni about his affair with Fabio's wife. Luciana resigns, seeking solace elsewhere. Devastated, Gianni visits his mother's grave, expressing love for her for the first time. To rebuild his life, he rehires Giulia, assigning her the task of launching a new ad campaign featuring disabled athletes. Desperate to find Chiara, Gianni storms to her parents' house, pouring his heart out to her grandmother. He professes his love and promises to be a better man. The old lady warns Gianni that Chiara is catching a bus to the Menotti Theatre in Spoleto, providing the route and timings. She cautions him not to hurt Chiara again, threatening consequences. Gianni catches up to the bus in time, but Chiara, refusing to melt, asserts her independence, stating she doesn't need pity. Ignoring his pleas, she asks the bus to move on. In the next scene, guilt-ridden Gianni runs in Rome until he collapses. To his surprise, Chiara appears in her wheelchair, cheekily mimicking his earlier excuse. Choosing to forget the past, she embraces him, giving him a ride on her lap. In the final scene, Gianni celebrates his 50th birthday with his brother, now dating Alessia and Chiara's family. The credits roll as Gianni carries Chiara in his arms, dancing slowly, a symbol of redemption, love, and acceptance in the face of past deceit.